Business owners should understand these four realities when creating content online. And they all revolve around invisibility, and not invisibility in the sense of just not posting at all, because there's a bunch of brands that post that are still invisible. And so it's not that people don't trust invisible brands. It's more so when they feel unsure, it's easier for them to pick the brand or company that's easier to understand. My name is Mike. I own a production company in northern New Jersey, and this lack of knowledge is something I see time and time again with a bunch of my clients. So like I said, we're gonna go over these four realities that once understood, the business owner can understand how social media works and the psychology behind all of it, and why are we even doing this in the first place. So the first reality is silence is still a signal. And when I say silence, I don't just mean not posting. I mean posting inconsistently, or posting in a way that doesn't show a pattern, no real direction for the brand. For example, anytime someone looks you up as a business or as a professional, do they quickly and clearly understand who you are, who you're speaking to, and why what you're saying has value to them? Humans naturally like to fill in gaps. So if you're silent online, it's a huge gap for people just start making assumptions like, oh, this business isn't as active as I perceived, or oh, maybe they're just not legit. Like it looks a little scammy, or they're probably just not established. Like they're just a super small time company, because people don't know what they're not presented with. And it's not because it's true, it's just because people need closure. So like if there's an open gap, we have to fill that gap with something. A lot of people online, when they're doing research, they don't do deep dives on people. They kind of skim. They skim this person, they skim that person, they skim that person, and the person that they liked, who they skimmed, then they'll do a deep dive. But if you don't pass the skim test, then it's like you already lost. And it's tough when you create only when motivation strikes and everything seems super inconsistent, because I'm a firm believer in how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if your social media just looks inconsistent and you're posting a lot one month but then nothing happened the next month, I'm going to assume just naturally that that's how your business is being run too. Like when you're motivated to work on whatever it is your business is, then you'll do a great job, and then all of a sudden, things will just fall off and fall through the cracks. It becomes something hard for people to really trust. And the thing is, people are always looking at us when we're not even when we don't even know it. And that can be through referrals, or people are creating lists that they want to look at, or they're just comparing a couple companies together. If you have silence online, it doesn't positively impact their decision. It's just negatively impacting their decision. And the whole point of creating content is to build that trust. I've had clients literally tell me that they don't want to post more because they feel like they're being annoying to their viewers. It's not. You're not being annoying. You're being annoying if you're trying to do just random TikTok dances and that has nothing to do with your core business, or if you're hopping on trends and they don't lead to the end goal, to back to who you are and your reason for creating this business. It's not annoying for me when I'm watching something and they're educating me on a decision that I might need to make in the future. Like, if anything, I want more of that information so I can make the best decision possible. Or another one is when people say, I don't have anything to say. I'll post when I think of something to say. And it's like, people aren't going to reward you because you get motivated. They reward you through consistency over long periods of time. Or when people say my work is good, people will figure it out. It's like, no. People are on their phones 24/7. They're going to find someone that's quickly and easy to understand way faster than they're going to find someone that's actually good at what they do, because we have information at our fingertips. And so just because we're good at what we do, we're no longer in a time where that's enough. Like, we need to also be gaining attention as well. There's no way around that. The goal isn't to talk more and post more and just become a content making machine. It's just becoming clear with your language, and stop being ambiguous, and stop following trends that you don't even know why you're following them. Like, everything you post should have a purpose and a direction in which you want to go. And if it's not helping that direction, again, it's falling into silence. It's just noise. It's just random white noise that people are hearing, but it's not helping them make a decision. When you look at being silent online, you can't look at it as just, oh, I'm just being absent. You need to look at it as like, I'm not reinforcing my message to my people. You need to constantly be reinforcing your message, constantly, always reinforcing. Because the best part about reinforcing is it compounds over time. And so when you're not clear on your messaging or you're posting inconsistently, you're starting from zero every single time. I've noticed it in my own business. I've noticed it in my own business with my own clients. I've had clients that I've literally worked with for like 6 months straight and then them be like, Mike, you do photography too? I didn't know you do photography. And it was my fault. I just wasn't consistent with my messaging. I was, posting sporadically or when I felt like it for the photography side of it. And I was mainly posting just the videos. And I assumed that the little bit that I did post for photography, people were actually watching. And it's like, no, people aren't watching half my stuff, And so I need to constantly be reinforcing my message in the direction that I want people to take. But that's when it hit me. I was like, wow, like people that I'm literally face to face with on a monthly basis don't even know my messaging. And that's on me. That's my fault. And so like, this isn't me coming at it from like a pedestal. This is me coming at it from like, I've lived it. These are my learning experiences. And once you understand that silence is indeed a signal, it starts to shift how you think about it. And then the question arises, how much is my silence online actually affecting me and the business? Okay, and that leads us to our next reality, which is trust is being decided with or without you. And business is all about trust. It's relationships. Can I trust you? A lot of people think, oh, I'll build their trust when they actually get to know me or when I meet them in person. But like people are already making unconscious biases just by your presence. They're deciding if they trust you or not before they even meet you. It's when they meet you that they solidify if they do or don't trust you. But the decision of them trusting you or not is being decided immediately. We aren't in the times of people, meeting you for the first time. That's when the expression first impressions are so important. And it's like we live in a digital age with phones and people are now meeting us because of the stuff that we're putting online on the internet. People trust what feels familiar to them. So if I see a repeated idea, a clear point of view, and consistent language, I start to build that trust before my logic starts to kick in. And trust is something that can be compounded over and over again through consistency. So if I, reinforce my message, I continue posting in that same direction, it's going to help my brand awareness. Whereas if I stop posting, it'll actually create friction. Or if I post something that has nothing to do with the general direction that I want to go in, then it starts to add friction and slowly starts to decrease that trust little by little, whether we like it or not. So here's something that helped me. And it's understanding that trust isn't built by explaining myself better. It's built by being understood sooner. And what I mean by that is not trying to explain myself with jargon or with industry lingo that I only know, but it makes me sound smart, or, my interpretation of what I'm saying. It's how can I speak the language of my ideal client and communicate my message using language that they understand, that they use? Because communication is huge. Because I might think I'm communicating myself clearly, but to someone that doesn't understand, I need to find the language that they understand and then communicate my message through that language. And it can be used for your marketing, because once you understand the language that your ideal client is using, it makes your job so much easier. I've personally lost opportunities with clients that I didn't even know about until like years later. And it wasn't because I was underqualified or I wasn't capable of doing the work. It was just that people felt more comfortable and safe using someone else because they were consistently online. And so they created almost like this false sense of security. And I mean, I'm sure the work turned out fine. It's not to say that the person was providing a bad product. It's just to show that people didn't even trust my brand because I wasn't posting consistently. And that hurt me. And I didn't even know about it till years later. So like, who knows how many times that this actually happened, but just understanding that people are always looking, always comparing. And if we're not at the forefront of speaking for ourselves, people are just going to scroll right past. Once I understood that trust was being built without me to someone else that was more present online, I stopped looking at invisibility as something I didn't want to do, or, I started looking at not having an online presence as optional, and it has become the infrastructure of my business today. And that leads us to the third reality. Opportunity moves towards clarity, not quality. And it doesn't mean quality doesn't matter, because it does. It just means quality alone isn't what gets chosen. I faced it firsthand. Opportunity doesn't always look for the best work. It looks for the safest decision. When someone's choosing to hire or trust someone to work with, they're not looking at who's the most talented. They're looking at who can I understand the fastest that I feel will be able to get the job done. And with, the rise of phones and the internet, people don't take their time to choose anymore. They don't really spend long periods of time. It's an efficiency thing. So they're choosing based on, efficient models of, Google reviews or whatever, but you need to have that online presence to help you gain their trust. If not, you just get skipped, you get postponed, people don't follow up with you. You have to chase people just forget. And when your content has no real direction and it's inconsistent, every post starts from zero. You're not compounding your message. There's no narrative for people to follow. There's no story arc. There's no memory of what you even said 2 weeks ago, because one day it was your dog, the next week it was the sky being blue. There's no purpose. And when I say that, it's not to just say more things. It's how can you say fewer things more clearly? And the best part is clarity comes from repetition. You don't have to be a genius to speak clearly. That was a huge unlock for me, is I didn't want to post until I felt clear on the message that I wanted to say. But then I learned over time that the more I said my message, the more I refined it, the more I was able to get rid of the filler words, and the clearer I became, where people now understand what I want to communicate. When your message isn't clear, the opportunities don't fight you. They just go to someone that they understand. And the best part is that this is being proved time and time again by my clients when they say there's a competitor out there that does subpar work, but their content, they're posting at such a high frequency and with such a clear message that they're gaining market share. And so that means, in simple terms, that posting more is allowing more people to trust them, so they're growing their business in that industry. So I've seen people with exceptional work get outperformed by average people, and that just sucks. That just sucks so hard. It's terrible. But it's because they just weren't clear on their messaging, and they weren't posting consistently over time. I've seen it with lawyers. I've seen it with realtors all the time. I've seen it with developers. I've seen it with restaurants, and they all say the same thing. It's like, oh, this guy, he's blowing up online, and he's not even that good. But it's, again, that person has a clear message, and they're repeating it over and over again. And that builds trust. That's the whole point of this, is how do we build trust? That's how. It's even in the Bible. It's literally scripture. It says, ask and you shall receive. You just need to be clear on what you're asking. And that's it. That's the opportunity. Receive is receiving opportunities, and asking is what you're putting out into the world, right? So if my ask is more clients, I need to be clear on my messaging, and I need to be posting consistently to then get more opportunities. It's not rocket science. You just got to do it. And the fourth reality is if you don't define your narrative, someone else becomes the reference point. What do I mean? Reference point is the person that pops into people's minds when the problem arises. So my roof breaks. Boom. The first person I think of is the reference point for the solution. And once this happens, you're no longer being chosen. You're being compared. And once you're being compared, it's like a race to the bottom. This is super important because one, people don't compare deeply. They kind of default. And once someone else becomes the reference, I become the alternative. Or it's harder for them to justify why they should choose me. It's not because I'm worse. It's just because I popped in their mind second instead of first. This is also where the random posting doesn't help. Because if I say a bunch of different things to you, you don't remember anything. But if I'm saying the same thing to you from different angles, it's going to stick because it's one thing for you to remember because I'm reinforcing it through repetition. Being good isn't a category either. Like you have to define your angle. You know, you have to show things through your lens. Once you get grouped, groups don't get chosen. And just so you know, repositioning is harder than positioning. It's easier to shape someone's perception early than it is to change it later. Once someone owns that space in their head, you have to replace them. You have to re-educate your audience. You have to overcome the familiarity bias, which is, oh, but I already know them. So I just feel more comfortable using them. Like these are a bunch of things that you have to overcome that you can totally avoid if you just did it right the first time and you just become that go-to person in their mind naturally. A common, misconception that I really believed because I guess I was just naive at the time is that there's room for everyone. It's like, oh, there's room for everyone. And it's like, there's room for everyone to exist, but there's not enough room for everyone to be remembered. Another thing people tell me all the time is, oh, I don't want to box myself in. Clarity doesn't box you in. If anything, it opens up this world for you to live in. You don't need to get everyone's attention every 5 minutes. The real goal is to become top of mind for a specific problem. When you don't intentionally reinforce a message that you're trying to broadcast, people don't wait for, I'll wait for Mike to post content so I can then trust him. It's like, no, they're going to go to whoever's showing up consistently because that person has become top of mind. And I see it all the time. And it's so funny how like people think because sometimes they'll entertain you at first and then you'll find out that they went to somebody else second. And we always wonder, it's like, why did they not choose me? Why did they go somewhere else? Why did they even entertain me and then go somewhere else? Or why are people not even choosing me? And it's tough because people don't give us that feedback, but that's happened to me long enough for me to learn that it's because I'm not top of mind to them. I'm not the one that has reinforced the idea that when they have this problem, I am the solution. And I'm also a firm believer of everything being my fault in the sense of if reality is happening and I don't like it, it's my fault. I need to change. No one else should have to change for me to change and in turn change that reality. So I take the responsibility, I take forward action, and the best way to do that is creating this consistent content over time, explaining my message through different angles. And positioning myself as the solution for one specific problem. That's it. So remember, silence does send a signal. Trust gets decided without you. Opportunity moves towards clarity. And if you're not writing the narrative, someone else becomes a reference point. You don't have to be loud and dramatic, but you have to be consistent so it compounds. So with all that being said, the only takeaway I want you to get from this is if I don't choose to position myself, I'm choosing to be replaced. And to take all this into an action step, look at all your content and ask yourself, if someone looks me up today, what can they understand within the first 30 seconds? If the answer is unclear, the problem isn't the effort you're putting, it's your clarity of your signal.